Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on video mine. It means a lot if you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. Today's video is going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about, um, for every season, which person would I vote for in the final tribal. Now, we're not talking about, like, am I putting myself in a position on the jury, because sometimes the jury just goes with the majority, even if they think that somebody's going to win. And so I'm talking about if I had sole decision over who won the season, like if my vote was the only one that mattered. So obviously, I'm very self conscious that I am in fact picking the winner. And so if I was picking the winner for each season, what I would pick just based off who deserves it. Now you guys know how I look at the game. I respect control. I also respect idle plays. I know a lot of people have soured on idle plays. I respect idle plays as long as you have other facets of your game on top of that. So yeah, I mean, I think overall it's pretty self-explanatory. I know other Survivor YouTubers have done it, so I figured I'd do it too since you guys recommended it. 76% of you guys who are watching this video aren't subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. You can do it right now. Just click the button. It's so easy. If you're new, welcome to the family. We have a lot of fun over here, and we make daily content up until season 41. And even then, content will keep going with the live streams at the end of each episode. We're going to have live streams after every episode, a post game show, if you will. Tune in, watch it live. Right now, I'm talking to several co-hosts to co-host with me. It's going to be really, really, really fun, guys. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into the first one. I'm going to go with Rich for the first one. So when I see Rich as a player, I'm thinking dominant, first one to ever do it, no blueprint. Rich had no blueprint going into Borneo. Rich goes into Borneo knowing when the merge is going to happen, the fact that there's going to be challenges, how the immunity system works, where whoever wins immunity doesn't get to go to tribal, and that the episode cycle is every 3 days. Everything else, he has no idea. He doesn't know if there's going to be a swap. He doesn't even know what a swap is. He doesn't know what any of the challenges look like. He doesn't, and know any of the many terms that we talk about nowadays. He doesn't know if people are going to like alliances. He doesn't know if which tribe he's going to be on. He doesn't know how people are going to view threats in the merge. He doesn't know if people are going to play nicely. He doesn't know what a pagonging is. He doesn't know when the finale is going to start. Is it going to start at final four or final five or final six? He has no idea. And so for this reason, I just have so much respect for his game, as lackluster and just flashiness as it as much flashiness as it does lack. I have so much respect for his game because of the fact that it is just so. He went in so blind and was able to create a blueprint that every winner has followed, meaning making somewhat of an alliance, whether you want to call it a voting block alliance, trust cluster, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he did it first, and he did it really, really well. Obviously, the knocks on him are the fact that he's playing against not good players because they're not really playing the game. Yeah, but I'd say overall it's an easy vote for Richard here. Kelly plays. I mean, she's in the alliance and she breaks off of the alliance in a time where flipping isn't wouldn't work in that scenario because there wasn't enough people, and she didn't even try to flip. And then it's just overall, it really does not seem like she was playing the game. She plays a poor social game. People don't really respect her, and then she has to win out to the end in challenges that aren't very impressive wins. So in the end, that's where I go for Borneo. Moving on to Austria and Outback, I would also vote for Tina. I think Tina and Colby play the exact same game, but the only difference is that one, Tina doesn't rely on challenge wins, which by the way are not impressive because the challenges are not that hard. And on top of that, Tina wins. I mean, she actually wins in the real scenario, but obviously it's not a reason. But I think overall, Tina has more control, and because of the fact that Keith takes Tina to the end, and Colby takes Tina to the end, and the fact that Colby takes Tina, and Tina probably takes Colby as well. I think is really impressive. I think overall they both play really good games. I just have more confidence in Tina's strategic ability as well as just overall dominance in that specific game. Without the aid of challenges and while controlling Colby more than Colby was controlling her, in my opinion. For season three, Ethan, I'm gonna have to go with Ethan. I think Ethan overall plays a better strategic game, social game, and I would say a worse physical game than Kim. But obviously, I have a lot more. I care a lot more about physical and social dominance or sorry, social and strategical dominance than the physical dominance. I feel like I think it's really isn't close. I mean, Kim has to win out to the end. Kim Johnson, the person who loses in this final three, or sorry, final two. I think Kim has to win out to the end. She was not well ingratiated within these numbers. And I think she was definitely on the outside of the three boys. I don't think she has much say in the post merge or the pre merge, and I think that T Bird better than her. I think all the three in the alliance are better than her. I think Kelly's better player than she is. Brand's a better player than she is. I think the only people who are worse players than her are probably Clarence, just because we didn't really get to see Clarence play, and Frank maybe. I think other than that, everyone who made it past the merge, not only are better players, but I think literally everybody wins a jury vote against her in the entire post merge. Maybe aside from Frank, and even then, like people kind of respected Frank in like a reverence type of way, not necessarily like in a warm fuzzy way, but kind of a like like a like I respect Frank. Like I feel like people like for Frank in that way. I feel like, and so I feel like literally everyone in this post merge beats Kim Johnson, and so I obviously Ethan somebody in the post merge, so obviously he beats Kim. I think in season 4 I would go with Vesepia. I know like a lot of people are like recently have been really high on Nalia because like they only want her to come back for a second chance season or something like that, and because she's been really openly like open to like a really strategical second chance game if she ever got one. And I think that and Nalia plays a really good game after the final 9. What is it? Yeah, the final 9. When they flip on John Carroll, because that is no Leah's move 100%. Say what you want about Kathy and all that stuff like that, but really Kathy talks to Nalia, and Nalia has the close bond with Pascal, and on top of that, she has to convince Pascal to flip with her, which she ends up doing perfectly. So that is Nalia's move, but I do have to go with Vesepia, um, uh, because not because she has more control, but just because of how impressive her game is over Nalia's. For the first 27 days, Nalia plays no game, whereas for the first 27 days, I definitely see a game being played by Vesepia. Vesepia's while Boston Rob and Sean are just like yelling at all the row twos on the swap Maraumu tribe. Um, Vesepia is, as Rob puts it, kissing ass, and it worked because she's the winner. I think in this season she's able to play from the bottom, but be the most likable person from the bottom. And then when her opportunity comes, she convinces Kathy, who convinces Nalia, who convinces Pascal to flip on them, and then they do a great job of keeping that a majority and not just letting it be like a one time vote, and just pagonging the rest of the row 2-4, and then from there, Vesepia is able to get through the game. Tie the vote for Kathy when she needs to, so that she has someone who's like another person who's willing to take Kathy to the final to take her to the final 2, because if she had gone with Ilya and Pascal, they're both taking each other, and then that puts her entire game on a final 3. Whereas if Kathy wins, she takes her, and if Nilia wins, she takes her because Nilia can't take Pascal anymore. Kathy beats her, but Nilia doesn't, and so as soon as Kathy goes, her entire plan goes right. And I think her only flaw is that she couldn't beat Kathy, which is the person who she was really setting up to be at the end with, if she didn't break that promise to take her to the final 2. And so I think overall her game was really impressive from the bottom, and I think she's one of the first from the bottom players to do it very, very impressively. And that's why my vote ends up going to her by a very slim margin, though. Brian Haddock. Haven't seen the season. You guys tell me not to watch it. It's the only season I haven't seen. I've seen the other 39. I feel like I'm good without watching this season. I know the basic ideas of this season, and that's all I need. And I know it's Brian Haddock. Moving on. Okay, so with Amazon at first, I'm thinking, well, hold on. Matt Van, whatever his name is, he makes moves. He flips with Rob. He's Rob's second in command. So if I would definitely pick Rob, I should probably pick Matt. But then I thought, no. It doesn't matter what, like the your game on paper. It matters like all. It also matters what type of player you are. And Matt was not out there playing the game. Matt was out there getting tricked by Rob the entire game, being used by Rob. So although his game looks good on paper and he votes correctly for a lot of votes, surprisingly in the pre-merge and post-merge, and is able to position himself where he's getting to the end most of the time, even without winning all the challenges that he could have and did win. Um, because of the fact that he's not like a player who was really in the know, and a player who was very like the term ignorance is bliss. Like he was just in la la land for most of the game. And as I said, just kind of Rob's lapdog. And so for that reason, I would pick Jenna. Not really for Jenna, but it's kind of just against Matt. So this next one is pretty similar to the last one, in which on paper Lil's game is pretty impressive. She gets the merge, she flips, which is probably a good choice, knowing that the game is going to be pretty fluid. She knows that if she just made the game very, very straightforward and Morgan had the numbers, as soon as all of the Drakes were gone, she would have been the sixth or sorry, the fifth person out. And so I feel like overall she flipped good, and then every time that there was a flip, she was usually in the majority. She was able to form a bond with Fair Play, in which Fair Play was willing to take her to the end. But then you really look at like her as a player. She played very emotionally. She played very irrationally. She got voted out. She got voted out. I'll say it again. She got voted out. So I mean, overall, like her game on paper looks cool, just like Matt's does. Like she votes the right way a bunch of times, and she has good bonds with people, just like Matt does. But the player that she is, just like Matt is not a player that I could give my vote to, no matter how good the game is on paper. I'd say for season 8, it's obviously Rob. Um, I mean, you can't give it to Amber. I mean, she didn't do anything. I mean, and unless they just gave Amber the shittiest edit ever, I mean, which is not the case, because they try to give her as good an edit as possible. I mean, Rob literally just plays this game perfect, or not perfectly, but he plays the game so dominantly. He manipulates his pre-game relationships in this game in order to get Lex to save his number one ally, and basically a second vote in Amber, and then he's able to take Lex out immediately at the merge. I feel like what's it called? And then from there, he's able to take out Kathy, and then when she wins a challenge, he's able to keep his onion alliance strong, and vote out the outer layer of the onion in Alicia. Then when Chien goes, after that it's final 5, and that's when we have his brilliant move where it's so obvious him and Amber are never gonna vote against each other. Why in the world would you take them to the final 3, or that, or even the final 4? Because then they're going to take each other, especially at final 3. Then you're basically just like fighting for your life in a challenge. But somehow he causes Big Tom to get mad at Rupert, and then he's still antagonizes Big Tom, but Big Tom still doesn't even vote for him. And so because of that, Big Tom goes, and then from there he's able to convince Jenna that she can't beat Rupert, which is true. But but she could have just as easily beaten Rupert in a final challenge, because although Rupert's big in tribe challenges, he's not he's like, do you really expect big Rupert to put his hand on a stump for 24 hours? No, he's going to get tired and fall off eventually, or have a lapse in judgment like he does strategically all game. But yeah, so yeah, I feel like Jenna had a better shot just trying to vote out Amber at final 4, and then beat Rupert and Rob in a final 3, and then take Rob, or just make a deal with Rob. And then from there, I do feel like Jenna could have a good shot at Rob, but he somehow convinces Jenna not to do all of this, and instead just vote out her only ally in the game, and to put her entire game on a challenge, when she could have put her entire game on a challenge plus Rob winning the challenge as well, which is a lot better chances. And so I feel like overall it really is an impressive game by Rob, and so I have to give him the win. Vanuatu, I'm gonna give to Twyla. I feel like Twyla, so Twyla, like, so far the goats, the corner, I'm putting quotes in the air. The goats that like we've talked about, the Mats and the Lils, like they've like had good games on paper, and they've like had the connections and like the close connections and the right connections, but them as a player, they like don't play hard enough for me. Twyla has all of the stuff on paper, and she plays hard enough for me. I love Chris as a player, but I do think that Twyla plays the same game as Chris. They make all the same moves, except she gets Rory, Sarge, and is Chad out at the merge, and Chris loses Rory, loses Sarge, and loses all of them. She's able to convince Chris to vote out. Is it John K? John P, something like that, before the merge happens, the vote before the merge happens, rather than voting out Julia, um, which I think is genius, because then they just flip right back to the women's side for a few votes to leave Chris kind of powerless, and then Chris has to use them and only them. Like they can't flip over, and then once all the rest of the women are gone, then they just cut to Twilight and Scout. No. We're gonna take out Rory, Sarge, and Chad, and then when we flip over, we will make it to final three. And so I feel like it is a really impressive game by Twyla. I think Chris has the same moves. I just think that Twilight gets the better of him in the early merge. So I do have to give it to her personally. I don't even think that she played that bad of a social game. I mean, she has the big lie, but like there's worse social games out there that have been played, and she overall plays really aggressively this season, and is one of the first to really go out there and just like not give a shit what she does out there, and treat it like what it is, which is a game. Season 10, I got Tom. It's really not even close. I don't even think I need to talk about this one. I mean, it's pretty obvious how dominant Tom played and how not dominant Kate played. Season 11, this is a really interesting one. I'm going to go with Stephanie. I think Stephanie has much more control over the game. I do think that Danny plays a pretty decent game from the bottom. Notice how I don't say great. She didn't play a Vesepia game or something like that, but Danny plays a pretty impressive game from the bottom. I think overall Stephanie plays a better game from the top. And even if they played this same level of game from the top and from the bottom, top always wins like a tiebreaker. And so I feel like Stephanie has a lot of control over the votes. I think she's able to blindside her other allies in Jamie and Judd, who are causing a nuisance, who are tearing up her plans. And I think that both Rafe and Danny take her to the end at final three. I do think that as she does break some bonds and does kind of act a little bit, I hate the way, I mean, just kind of bitchy is really the word. But at the same time, I can understand. And she didn't Russell Hantz like she didn't Russell Hantz her way to the end. And in here's versus like an in here's versus villain. So I mean, come on. She wasn't like overly terrible socially, and she played a great game strategically, probably one of the best up to this point. I think the only person in the season that I would vote for, or sorry, in the post jury that I would vote for over Stephanie would be Rafe, just because he did all of that while not making people hate him as much as they hated Stephanie. And so I think overall, Stephanie definitely beats Danny in my mind. Season 12, this is easily ours. I vote for ours over anybody in this entire post merge personally. I just think ours plays the best game. I would love to vote for 3 over ours, but I have a whole argument on why ours is better, which I've talked about in several videos. But yeah, I think overall ours plays a good game. He's able to get in the majority in the pre-merge, and then when he gets to the merge, he uses Terry's threat level in order to take the target off of him, and is able to dodge. And at the same time is able to dodge Terry throwing bullets at him, which is super impressive to me personally. Season 13, I would vote for you. I think they play a very good game. Like on paper, they play a pretty similar game. I just think the big difference is that Ozzy plays has to rely on challenges. I know, I wouldn't say rely on challenges, because he probably still doesn't go home. The only challenges that he really relies on is the Final Four one, because they probably flip on him then. But I think overall, I just think Yule's more involved in social dealings, and I think Yule's more seen as the kingpin, whereas Ozzy is kind of seen as just like another person in the alliance who's also really good at challenges. And so I would definitely value you. I think also it's like physical game versus social strategical. I would definitely take the social strategical player every time. Season 14, I have Earl. I think even if Yaman's in this final three, I do pick Earl personally. I think Earl plays a better game. I think more people take Earl to the end than anybody in this entire season, and he beats anybody in this entire season. I think it's really impressive by him. I think he has several good moves and is able to keep Yao as like a kind of a shield, and then cut Yao, or at least solicit dreams to cut Yao. Kind of like he's able to set things up where Yao's going to get cut, and even if he doesn't, I do believe that he beats Yao in the end, which is really good on him. And so for that reason, I would vote for Earl. Todd in China, I'm definitely voting for Todd. I feel like overall it's not corny, so it's either Todd or Amanda, and I think Todd's more socially connected with people. I think Todd has more respect. I think Todd is the more of a kingpin. I think Todd was the bigger boy in the decisions, and I think Todd is more connected to James probably in this game specifically, more connected to Jean Robert. He's more connected to Courtney, really. I mean, Amanda just doesn't have as many social bonds personally, and so for that reason, I will pick Todd. Season 16, I'm going with Parvati. I think Parvati and Amanda play a similar game. If Sarie's there, it's an easy Sarie vote. She plays the better game. But I feel like because it is a final two with Parvati and Amanda, I go with Parvati. She creates the Black Widow Brigade. Amanda doesn't, and Amanda takes her to the end and loses, which I have to fault her game. And I do think overall that Amanda has, again, looser social bonds than Parvati. Alexis likes Parvati more than Amanda. Natalie likes Parvati more than Amanda. I feel like overall, Eric likes Parvati more than Amanda. I really do think that in the end, Parvati just has stronger social bonds than Amanda. I really do think in the end, I value people who can keep a social bond while backstabbing people. And so that's why I value Parvati's game more, because they had a very similar game on paper. But I do think that Parvati has more control, whereas in Amanda, obviously she's kind of like relying on Ozzy as her like quote unquote boyfriend, and whereas in Parvati has James in her back pocket. But they're not anything more than just flirtmance, I guess. So I just feel like Parvati's game is overall more impressive, with more control and better social bonds across the game. For Gabon, I'll probably pick Sugar. I mean, I don't like Sugar as a player because she does play emotionally, but if you're looking at gameplay, Susie does not have any social bond. She has zero social game, and Bob has zero strategical game. And so for that reason, it's like if we're talking about social or strategical or physical, and Bob being physical, Bob's weakness being strategical and social. Susie's weakness being in physical and strategical, and then Sugar's weakness being physical and social game. I will go with the person whose strong suit is strategical, because I feel like Sugar overall plays a very fluid game, and she's able to take out people who she doesn't like. My issue with Sugar is that it's all emotional, but it's like I'm not voting for Susie. It's Susie. It's Susie. And then I'm not voting for Bob. It's Bob. He's probably the worst winner ever. Bob. So kind of just leaves Sugar. So for that reason, I do pick Sugar. Season 18, I go with. I mean, I would love to vote for Steven. I don't know. Okay, I'll do it. I vote for Steven. I think Steven has more bonds with Taj and with the other what's it called? Yeah, I think Steven has more bonds with Taj, Brendan, and is it what's her name, the blondie, and so I feel like overall, Steven has more options going to the merge. I do think Steven or JT has better bonds with the Tim Beer people, in Debbie and Coach and Tyson. But I feel like Steven's bonds were more important, because that could have been a cross tribal lines. And I do think that because Steven was willing to cut JT, whereas JT was not willing to cut Steven, I do have to give credit where credit's due to Steven. So personally, I vote for Steven, but I do think it's really close. I think Steven's the better strategically, but JT's the better socially in the season, and it really isn't even close on either fronts really for me. Season 19, it's Russell. Russell plays this game really, really, really hard. Natalie does not. Natalie's moves are catching a rat, and yeah, so and Mick is feckless. So season 20, I'm going with Parvati. I think Sandra tries all game to get Russell out and fails at this. I think Sandra fails to convince the heroes to flip when the move is right there. All she has to do is say they're all lying to you about the letter. Please, please, I'm trying to tell you they're all lying about you. I have information right here, and she fails to do so, which I find a flaw in the heroes, but also a flaw in her game that she's not able to pull out an easy move where she just tells them that they're lying, and then they flip and they use Sandra, and so she fails to do that. And I feel like overall, it's just like I just don't see any benefit with Sandra's game. As far as Russell, I think in this game, unlike Samoa, I do think in this game he goes way overboard with the social bashing and really has a terrible social game in this season. I wouldn't vote for Russell in this season, and I feel like Parvati has more control over Russell, whereas Russell has less control over Parvati, and so I would pick Parvati for this vote. Nicaragua, I picked Chase. I mean, I think Chase, although Chase, I mean, overall, like he's kind of a klutz in this season. He on paper he plays the best game, and it's Fabio and it's Sash. Sash has terrible social bonds and seems kind of slimy, and Fabio's Fabio. So you kind of leave Chase as the person. Okay, well at least Chase has a good game on paper, and at least has some sort of strategical bearings while not being a complete a hole. Sash. So it seems like Chase is the lesser of three evils, or sorry, yeah, the lesser of three evils in that situation. Season 22, come on, it's Rob. Season 23, I have Coach. I think Sophie plays a fine game, but I think Coach beats Sophie going into that final tribal because he has better bonds and he loses it because he's Coach. But again, this is in an alternate universe where I get to pick. And Coach doesn't lose my vote because I know what he did during the season, no matter how much of a coach he is during the final tribal. I still stick with my coach vote, and so personally, I would go for coach because they did all the same moves, but I think that coach has more overall control over the game. Although it may seem like Sophie has control over coach, I don't think that's the case. I think Sophie just had a good final tribal when coach had a bad one, and the stars kind of aligned at the right time for Sophie. But so overall, I would go for coach in this season. 24. Okay, come on. Moving on. Season 25. What's it called? I would probably go for. I would go for Lisa. Honestly, I think Lisa votes out the threats to her. She finds the courage to flip on her Tandang tribe when she feels that they're gonna cut her when the pagong is finished with the rest of the players, and then two when that they're just not treating her right. I feel like overall she's able to use Michael, and she knows that she beats Michael in the end, and so for that reason I can respect her game because she does get someone to bring her to want to bring her to the end who she beats, which I super respect. And although Denise goes to every single tribal council, I feel like Denise was kind of a passenger using the terms of the players and edge of a sanction. I feel like Denise was not a driver. She was definitely a passenger in the post merge. I do think Denise's most impressive stretch is when she gets dissolved onto Calabao and is able to ingratiate herself into the tribe. And I think overall Lisa has more control over the game, has more options, and I think overall plays a better game. Season 25, 6. Sorry, I have Cochrane for sure. It's not even close. I really don't think there's much to talk about. I think Dawn's an emotional wreck. I think they have a very similar game on paper, but I think Cochrane just overall has better bonds and more control over the game. And it has definitely a better social game. He doesn't have people hitting him like Dawn did. And then, I mean, come on, Jerry, really, the White Castle lady who owns or whatever, like owns fast food or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, no, definitely not. So yeah, that kind of leaves Cochrane as my pick for that season. Season 27, I would vote for Tyson. I feel like Tyson plays a pretty dominant game this season. He has complete control. My second would be Monica, because I think Monica does flip or not flip, but she keeps from flipping in situations where she has less of a chance to win, and she also gets more votes than Jervis. She has better bonds, and I feel like if Monica goes to the end with maybe Jervis and like a Katie or like a even like a Tina, I do think that Monica has a good shot of winning the game. I sincerely believe, and so for that reason, I do feel like we have to go with Tyson, because, or sorry, despite that, I'm going to go for Tyson because I feel like he masterminds the Aris, Vetus, Katie, and Tina Boot, and is able to counteract Redemption Island in order so that the person who gets out has no shot of like ruining his game, and he's able to win challenges when he needs to overall. Season 28, I got Tony. Come on, come on. It's just Wu he's going up against. I'm not voting for Wu. Come on. Season 29, I would go with Natalie. Jacqueline's a close second, but like I feel like if John was there, I'm going with John just because he was able to he probably had more say in that relationship and was able to keep Jacqueline in check. Whereas Jacqueline was kind of emotionally unfit that season. It was overall kind of a nuisance in my opinion, and kind of ruined her bonds with, especially with the boys when she called the boys out for their rightful piggish behavior, but she kind of ruined her bond there, whereas John didn't. But because John's not there, I feel like Natalie wins over Jacqueline for the reasons that I just said, and also the fact that Natalie plays a super impressive end game after Jeremy gets booted there, and I feel like it's because it's Missy and it's Jacqueline that Natalie wins. But I would pick John over Natalie personally. Season 30, I'm going with Mamasi. I don't respect challenge streaks that involve no social game, and the fact that he needs to win literally all 5 challenges that he wins, and then that idol that he plays. I mean, it's just so obvious that he was getting voted out, and that he made such a big blunder, probably the biggest mistake by a winner. If you want me to do a video on that, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I think he probably makes the biggest mistake by a winner in Survivor history at the auction, and has to win out from there. Whereas in Carolyn may not have played a super impressive game in the pre-merge, but she plays a pretty solid one, getting a majority, getting allies like Max to the merge, and I think overall plays a pretty impressive game. Has her her idol play, and then is able to get a good relationship with Mike and not do like the emotional damage to Shireen that Will did. And so I would overall go with Mama C. Season 31, Cambodia, I'm going with Jeremy. Special plays a pretty good game, and they play a pretty similar game on paper, but I feel like Jeremy obviously has a lot more social bonds, and I think just connected with the jury, unlike Spencer did, and had definitely a better story, and I think overall just more control of the game, and had more decisions that he made, and was able to get the people he needed to get out without making them angry, unlike Spencer, who had some beef with some people on the jury. Season 32, I'm going with Aubrey. I think Ty's second and Michelle's third. It's nothing against Michelle's game. I just feel like Aubrey was saved at the merge with the medevac. Michelle was saved at the final 5 with Joe medevac. But I will say the tiebreaker for that is that Michelle was saved at the first vote for winning the challenge. I feel like Michelle goes that first vote, and if you're going to be the first vote, I can't vote for you. And as far as Ty, I think Ty plays a very, very emotional game, and makes a very poor decision in his flip on Scott and Jason, because if he's able to survive the tribal at, I believe, final 9, is it? Yeah. And then he comes out of that vote with a 4, because then they pick up Julius, and then it's a 4-5. No, because the vote's at the final 9, then they come back with 8, so that's 4 and 4, and then they go to rocks. Maybe they'll get the majority from that, and then from there they can just pick off the rest of them, and then Ty probably beats both Scott, Jason, and Julia. And so I think Ty plays pretty emotionally, and so the person left is Aubrey, who actually does play a pretty good game herself. So this isn't necessarily an anti Michelle and Ty vote. It's more of a pro Aubrey vote and an anti Ty and Michelle vote. I think it's pretty obvious who deserves the win there, personally, for me. Season 33, I got Adam. Hannah and Ken are pretty much goats. There's not much to talk about here. Come on. Season 34, I have Sarah. Sarah's able to flip back and forth the entire merge. She's able to do what similar to what Tony did, where she's able to flip, but then repair social bonds. But the thing is, hers is more impressive as far as socially, because she doesn't even have to repair the social bonds, because people don't even care, because they just love Sarah so much. People just call her a badass after she flipped back and forth on them. And I feel like she overall plays a masterful social game, probably a top 3 social game of all time, like with JT and maybe someone else who I can't think of right now. And so I feel like overall, I do have to give her mad props for her masterful social game. Season 35, I'm going with Chrissy, because I feel like Chrissy overall has more control than Ryan, and because I just like with Mike, I can't respect the way that Ben got to the end. I can respect idle plays if you have other facets to your game, and or other options, and I feel like Ben had no options except to just dig around the island for idols. And the questionable production interference or lack thereof is, yeah, no. I'll just go with the safe of a vote in Chrissy. Season 36, I'm definitely going with Dom. I feel like Dom, and it's obviously Dom or Wendo. I think Dom has more pass to the end, more options, and is able to not rustle hands, where he's the most strategically dominant, and he's able to not necessarily burn too many roads. Now he does burn some roads, but he's able to not completely piss off the entire jury. And I feel like he has a lot more past the end and a lot more options, and was closer to being able to take out Wendell. And he also doesn't have to go to fire. And so for that reason, I do have to put mad respect on his game. I do think that if he had gone up against Wendell, that's probably his only fault, is that he didn't do so, because he probably beats Wendell, and then he gets to the end and wins the game. So I think it's really impressive what he did, and he pretty much deserves the game at that point. Season 37, I'm going with Mike. Mike White. I feel like overall Mike has more past to the end. More people take Mike to the end, and I will say Mike probably doesn't beat as many people, but because he has so many passes, he can kind of choose. I think Mike plays a more fluid game than Nick does. Mike isn't targeted as much as Nick does. In fact, he's not really targeted at all, and he's able to play a socially game, a game that's more socially fluid. I would say. I think overall the name of the game with Mike is fluidity. Season 38. I'm going with Gavin. I feel like I can't vote for Victoria, because I feel like her social game is pretty flawed, and she's kind of thought of as a kind of a non-factor, even though she played a pretty good game. And then Chris got voted out on day 9, so that leaves Gavin. Season 39, I'm going with Tommy. It's not even close. Dean's a far second. Tommy plays a fantastic game without any idols or advantages. Has amazing social bonds. It really isn't even close. And then for season 40, Michelle played from the bottom the entire time and plays pretty well from the bottom, but she plays from the bottom, has zero control over the game. And Natalie got voted out on day 3, so that leaves Tony, who played a perfect game, by the way. This is not an anti-Michelle or anti-Natalie vote. This is definitely a pro-Tony vote. That caps it off, guys. If y'all want me to do something else, just let me know. If you got this far, you're crazy just like me, and I love it. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if that's it, I'll see you later.